take it.
Bobby Boy.
7 trips on.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Drew Sepperly here, doing another Tacklecast, joined by none other than the Luke Dunkin. Low budget.
I like that.
I
don't get introduced like that. I really
I don't
appreciate
know why you
that.
don't. It should happen more
I
often.
tell my wife that all the time, and she's like, "You are not the Luke."
I'm staying out of that one.
Yeah, well, you
I'm
probably
not-
should.
Yeah,
She's
I'm not-
mean. She's mean as a
Yeah, I'm
rattlesnake.
not. I'm not getting in the middle of that one. So I'm happy to have you here. Excited. So I know you're kind of coming down in this area. For those guys that don't know, Southwest Missouri, Northwest Arkansas. So we got a lot of boat dealers, manufacturers. You do a lot with TH Marine.
Yep.
So you're just kind of doing
This is
that.
this is like bass fishing mecca.
You're wearing that hat.
That's right.
This season, this trip. But when you get back, you got any fishing trips coming up?
Yeah, I've got just some local stuff with my son that we're going to fish, but a lot of filming coming up and a lot of, podcasts. I've got, I do the Boats and Pros series I've done on YouTube for a while, and we're fixing to film 6 new episodes of that. And so going to be a lot of moving and shaking going on. Got another NPFL in a couple of weeks. So lots of, you put it the right way when you said hats. So I got a lot of hats.
Got a lot
I don't
of
have
hats.
any hair, but
Well,
I got a lot of hats.
That's all right. We got enough college kids running around like Jacob Welch over there.
Jacob does have.
Look at that. That's the
I
best
have had
hair on Jerry's
envy
team
for 2 days.
So yeah, it's good. He and Palomalu or whatever for the Steelers having that Pert Plus sponsorship.
He's definitely getting a shampoo sponsor and conditioner.
But in the fishing realm, coming on a lot of things. If we try to focus on Tacklecast. We've done a lot of things. We do some tackle. I know we have. We discussed with Jig coming out and we team with you, but seasonally, let's say I know you're kind of down the line. We did some pros picks for different months and stuff. But what's your guys? I like to pick the brain. Like, what's your go-to right now? If you're going in the country, doesn't matter, spawn, post spawn. What is your like have tos?
Right now, it is. I'm hooked on a mag draft, and I think we're starting to kind of taper away from that, right? But it depends on if you're still in this mid part of the country to where I'm at in Tennessee. Still got a lot of shad spawn going on, and our spring has been so delayed that you still have some fish on the bed. And I know up here you guys have a lot of fish.
They just started moving the bed. Yeah.
See, we've had these little small waves. These springs that are so delayed. It's funny watching like. You don't just see this huge push because they get knocked back so many times with storms in the fronts. But a mag draft is playing for me right now big time almost everywhere I've gone. And whether that's shad spawn or post spawners like laid up around shade, fishing a lot of shade line stuff. But that's huge for me. I love a spook this time of year, between the shad spawn and just a regular old super spook.
You're getting to be that time.
It is getting to be that time. And then for me, right now, for the next month, if I'm fishing shallow, like a swim jig, like I love whether it's shad spawn. If I've got trees or emergent grass at all, swim jig is always going to be on the deck right now for me, big time.
That's something I probably historically isn't that popular in this immediate area. But there's a few more guys that are starting to. Really in the fall, almost in place with spinnerbait or chatterbait becomes more of a player. But there's still a lot of guys in that shad spawn. It does get thrown some, but our rock. We have no emergent vegetation.
Yeah, you guys it doesn't really set up for it up here as well.
You want rock or dock? What do you got? You got some wood on table rock and stuff, but brush piles.
And of course, I'm being from that Tennessee River, Alabama River, Coosa River, we swim a jig up high. People up north make fun of us because they just reel a jig. I make fun of them. I'm like, why are you just winding a jig?
Yeah.
We do the Alabama shake, hold it up high.
That's how I fish it because I didn't know any better when I first started swimming a jig. I was like, how do you just reel a jig? I couldn't process it.
It's hard to make yourself do it.
I was like, I want to pop it or do something.
Absolutely.
But
to try to get a reaction bite. But I fished with a lot of guys, especially when I fish co-angler in FLW. They're really good with that technique, and it's powerful, man. With the right trailer, it's crazy how that one bait can be that versatile, depending on the trailer, depending on the line, depending on what you do. But it really is a versatile thing, and something you're talking about Clearwater that I've seen this year through NPFL. This is kind of, to me, very sneaky. Guys throwing swim jigs deep. We saw this at Cumberland, but throwing swim jigs deep on like 12-pound line, 15-pound line max but like a half to a 3/4 and slow rolling them on the bottom out where you would throw a Kitech, where you would, and I've seen some things where I'm like, wow, that might be something you need to throw in. I've never
adding a little bit of heft to it.
It's interesting, and it's like where we're getting with pressured fish, right? Just a little different look, but that's something that it might work up here, you know?
Yeah. I know, I need to mention that mag draft. I think we got some in last week. I think we're out now.
Yeah. Listen, I cruised down that aisle immediately when I came in and saw them, and they're pretty much picked over.
And when I say we got some in, I mean we got like 100 or multiple.
Megabass, if you're listening, get your crap together.
Yeah.
We need more mag drafts.
Yeah. I see that order rider. He knows out till October. It's like, you're killing me. Like,
and it's one of those deals when you get them in October, they're going
to be gone too.
Guys are really starting to plan ahead. Like, hey, I got to have this in March, April, May next year. I better have some in the garage.
So one thing COVID did, because we all it's old monster season. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to buy me some worms.
That's right.
Around here it's March and we buy me a wigglewort.
Yep.
But now with COVID and everything since then, if it comes in July, you better buy it.
You better be planning ahead.
Yeah.
You better be planning ahead for sure. And it's like that, whether it's boat parts, I see it on the TH side. I see it, you guys with BaitWrX are seeing that around here. It's crazy right now, man. Supply chain is wild.
Yeah. It
makes your job a little frustrating,
Sometimes.
I can imagine.
Sometimes. You bring some baits in, and then like the jury college team comes and grabs all of them the same day. But that's fine. I'll give Jacob crap since he's sitting on a corner and didn't want to participate.
Yeah, he left us alone for this one.
But no, it's challenging, but it's still fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Or you try to find that replacement, or try to find that brand that hasn't caught on yet. But it's sometimes like throwing darts, right? But you find one that like, okay, I got lucky. This thing.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, man. I'm a tackle junkie, and I like ordering weird stuff or stuff that's not necessarily. Because for me, it's like somebody always finds that next household name bait.
Right.
I think about like Brian Thrift trying a whopper plopper and keeping it super low key on tour before like the world knew about it really. And there were very few guys. Watson was one of them too.
Yep.
They kept it under their vest, and then all of a sudden it blew up. There's always that coming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see it all the time, and so I'm constantly, especially with a lot of the Japanese stuff. Like I'm intrigued by a lot of the things that we're starting to see more and more of over here. So I'm always just, like you said, throwing darts. And look, you miss a lot.
Yeah,
but
guilty.
Then all of a sudden you'll get one that you're like, uh-oh. They reacted to that a little different than, there's something about a bass when you, and everybody knows it, when you're on a public body of water and you throw something they haven't seen that they like, it's immediately you're like, oh my gosh, it's the easiest thing in the world sometimes. And like the plopper was one of those that I heard Thrift say it. He said, every bite you get on it is the best topwater bite you've ever had until the next one bites it. And it was like that for like 2 years. It was wild. Now and they still eat it.
That was, I remember working at another tackle store we had like a legal pad, multiple pages of the calling list for the next River to Sea order to come in.
I bet.
On that,
like a waiting list. Yeah,
it was just call. If you're not picking it up today, you're done. Like it was just
so incredible.
It was, So it's funny that when that whopper plopper took off, it just took off.
And there were like
but you're
rumors.
right, it did.
But those guys just tried it, right? Like it was just, and Thrift is that dude I've pointed to a lot. It's like we see this big blade chatterbait now, something he's been tinkering with for a long time. Like he is, like you go to his boat, you go to his truck, the amount of tackle that guy buys. Like I've been in tackle stores with him, and there'll be a peg of crankbaits, and he'll go, oh man, that thing looks good. And however many of them are on the peg, he buys them. I'm like, well, do you throw that? And he goes, no. I'm like, well, why are you buying 6? And he's like, because if it works, I want to make sure I've got them. Yeah. And I go by the 2 rule, right? Like I buy 2 of everything. I never buy 1 of anything.
No,
I always buy 2.
I go 2 for.
Thrifty buys 6.
Yeah. Well, it's
not
very thrifty, but
it's not very thrifty. But he buys 6 of everything. Yeah. Like it blows my mind. But he's just like a tackle junkie, and that's how he finds a lot of these little sneaky things.
Sure.
I think, And there's something to that.
Well, and a lot of that, you mentioned it's a lot of that Japanese stuff too. That JDM, that's so intriguing to me. Oh, you want to talk like just brain wise wired so different, and the time they spent and the intricacies they put into their bait, whether it's a soft plastic or a hard, like how much does it pitch to the sides when you roll? I mean, the stuff that they take in. Not that it does. Designers aren't using that over here,
right?
But it's such a different level.
It really is.
And you talk about high pressure water over there.
That's right.
It's a whole other ball game. So if that stuff's working over there, and there's some gimmicky stuff that we've seen come out that catches, gone in the wind kind of a thing. But man, there's so much stuff that you're like, how do you come up with that? Or like, what was that? That maybe the gong.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And you throw it, and then that big old blade on the back just sits there, and I was like, okay, now it looks stupid, but as a wake bait, this thing, will get crushed.
Yeah, and then
maybe if I didn't have that like clear with the football jersey one, maybe some other colors, it may work. May just work.
I mean,
but it produces some action.
Oh, for sure.
So
I think about like stuff like the pompadour, these wild bait, but they get bit, and I've not put a lot of time into that one, but I've caught a few fish on it. But I'm all and the unique topwater is really what I'm like obsessed with from Japan, like the little bitty walking baits, just different things.
Well, just so you say mega bass, but they've got 5 different walking baits that that Diamante that's kind of the normal, but then they've got that Dog X that's flat, calm, skinnier, really dialed in for specific situations. And I'm like, where's that Super Spook Junior? Super Spook, like I don't,
exactly.
I hadn't until you start reading and it was like uploading this to try to help build the website and stuff, and you're looking at descriptions, and I was going, well, no kidding. Like I didn't know. I've been in tackle industry a long time and still have to something that's making us like, well, it's got to be something. There's got to be something different about it. Like what's I don't care that it looks similar, but they don't just produce the same thing, call it a different name. Like it's got to have something different.
And what blows me away with you guys at BaitWrX is just your mega bass assortment. Like just walking around in here yesterday, there's stuff I don't even realize because everybody thinks 110. Everybody hears mag draft. Those are probably the two I would say biggest sellers, but then I mean some of the crankbaits, and I've never thrown any of the plugs very much at all, but like they've got some really cool stuff. I saw a topwater yesterday that you guys had, some walking bait, and they call it Mega Dog.
Yeah,
it was this big, man.
Yeah,
I may leave,
and I've got one left. I've got one left. We sold them,
and I know we fish a lot of big gizzard shad stuff at home. Like you'll get bit on it. You may not get many bites, but I think you'll get bit.
I got some of those on a whim last fall before. Lake the Ozarks Big Bass Bash is always in October. And I was kind of looking at that thing, and I was like, why not? It's like, same thing. It's like, I'm going to order these crankbaits. Well, then they sell. It's like, well, we'll order these other crankbaits, and they'll sell. Yeah. So it's kind of like it just kept adding on with Maybass because everything has been selling. It may not be popular in Springfield, but it's popular out west, or it's popular southeast.
That's
or,
right.
It's so somewhere they're using them. It's popular. But that Mega Dog was one that really surprised me.
It's a cool looking
because even on the website it shows that it's like like sea bass. Like, it wasn't marketed as a freshwater
peacocks
bait.
probably, or stripers or whatever.
But I every time
have you thrown it?
I have not thrown it. I don't think I have a rod to throw it on.
That's what I was looking at yesterday. I'm like, I don't know that I've got.
I mean, I
can cast this around.
It's a giant walking bait.
Like, you've never seen it look like it's very
Mega
cool.
Dog.
Get on BaitWrX, use Dunkin 10.
Yeah, Dunkin 10, you save it. We got
Should
one
I
left.
wink at the camera?
Yeah.
Ding. If I don't buy that one today, you can buy it. They won't let me use my code in store. I've already asked.
I have more coming. Don't worry about it. I have more coming. They'll be here at some time. They're 15
just the
days
sheer
out.
novelty of it. My boys fish with me a ton, and they love big swim bait. They just though, we don't get a lot of bites on.
No, but
huge depths, 250 and stuff around home. But like I bring that home. My 14-year-old is going to think I'm the coolest dad in the world.
Well,
for
it's
5 minutes.
It's like Megabass looked at the Rapala giant lures that are hanging from the ceiling in most tackle shops around the country, and they were like, "We can make a bait out of that."
There's a big walking bait that was famous out west at Lunker Plunker, I believe. I think it's very body shape wise. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I know like Zaldane and some of those guys throw that around every now and then, but it's. I don't know that I have the tackle.
It's supposed to be more subtle too. It's not like a hard cutting. So I don't.
Subtle bait that weighs 3 pounds.
Yeah, 5 pounds. Sounds like a toilet hitting the water, but it's a subtle action.
You're not going to be able to sneak into a cove and everybody not know what you're using when you bomb that thing.
I don't know if I cast it or you just chuck it like a football and just free spool it.
It has that cinder block action.
You just chuck it, but I don't. Yeah, therefore. I know it would be walleye if I bought it. Because if you get to that bait, then I need another rod that would be heavy enough to throw that thing. Then and another reel.
Premium braid.
Then I was like, it's like we don't.
But I do think I'm intrigued by it though,
Yeah.
man. And it's funny, you guys saw me buy some little bitty mega bass deals you showed me
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. So I all over the spectrum when it comes to bait size and.
I get it.
But depending on the time of year, right? I mean, that's
absolutely
that's
like we were talking yesterday. That early fall, that transition,
Little bitty bait.
that little bitty shad, little bitty bait.
Because it frustrates so many folks. But like, there are things if you tinker and play around. Like, there's some cool stuff, you can
Right.
get, and you can get a lot of bites. Like
Yeah.
Tennessee River, people laugh at me. They're like, when should I come? Like to get a lot of bites and fish with you? I'm like, August. Like, well, we just fish for 2 or 3 hours in the morning. I'm like, no, we'll get there about 10. Like the hotter the better. The sun gets up. Like people don't believe it, but it's fantastic. Yeah,
I don't believe that.
Yeah, the whole like the month of August is one of my favorite months on Tennessee River.
That's
yeah, it's
wild.
crazy. I fish a lot then.
Yeah, because here it is like get there at daylight and you off the water by 10 or 11.
I get there late.
Yeah,
it's funny. But that's when that's when they really start schooling.
Yeah.
It's like as the light gets higher.
Because here locally, it's like if there's any time to come hit Table Rock, it's now.
Oh yeah.
And it's for numbers of bites. You're not going down.
Now, he says this, and we're sitting in the podcast studio.
Yeah.
We're not on Table Rock for some reason. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm gonna,
I've only fished Table Rock like one time too. So
had I known that, we could have done this on the water.
Hey,
I guarantee you, Sanford would have been okay with it.
sure.
Actually,
I'd have
been booted off, and it'd have been Drew Sanford and Luke Dunkin on the water.
It would have definitely been the Drew S show.
Like Drew, see you go back to work.
Yes.
You go, okay.
We need you ordering more gigantic top waters.
Yeah, or missile baits. That was yesterday's order too.
Missile.
Gotta go.
What's your number one? I love me some John Cruz. What's your number one like seller in the missile line? Just D-bomb? Is that
here recently it's been that little mini chunk.
Okay, cool. I've seen that. Remember
online,
the iCast?
yeah,
I haven't messed with it.
Here recently, probably because it's new and hot.
Okay.
That D-bomb sells really well.
Crazy.
But that their little Ned bomb.
It's a good bait.
This winter, when kind of around here, so when some guys, Cody Huff did a video on deep water, and he was more or less using it kind of as a Demiki style.
Okay.
On
I can see that on the tail.
On a moon eye kind of type jig head. And so that caught on pretty quick. Obviously not peanut butter and jelly, but like Fishalicious and some of those more natural bait fish looking colors. So that Table Rock, Bull Shoals, those lakes this year fished really, really well.
I like
for
that
Demiki style.
Yeah.
Rigging. So
we throw it on an Ed rig a lot at home, and I've thrown it up north too. It's a good bait. It's kind of got that fat body like a grub almost with that little spade tail. It's a cool bait.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about it, and all of a sudden he rigs it like that, and I was going, well, that looks good too. That looks good too.
Cody.
So
Cody became that guy around here. Like when he speaks, everybody's starting to listen, even though he's a young kid, because he smashes.
I would say
time.
so.
Yeah.
I would say so. There's, I think, if he's fishing a tournament on Bull Shoals, I'd maybe just put a rod down and follow him. I don't,
Yeah, Cody's one of those guys that I've been keeping up with for a while. I've had him on the show several times. I really think the world of him.
Yeah.
And when he rolls up at Bull Shoals, I feel like guys are like, oh my gosh, seriously, we got to deal with this guy today? Because
it's funny.
Pretty dialed up.
It's funny. I really think, he went from being that young kid that maybe people are like, oh God, this kid.
Yeah.
Fishing all these little Wednesday derbies or whatever, just showing up, and now it's like, we don't really want you here.
Exactly. Oh, you're Elite Series, get out of here.
This is for our retired guys. If you could.
And it happened quick, like his progression. Yeah. I watched him at Smith in the Open last year. I was really impressed. That tournament practice was really good, and like leading up to the official practice was great, but that lake can't handle that kind of pressure, and they had a huge they call it Bass Fest, 200 boat tournament, local tournament leading up to the official practice of the Open, and then 230 guys out there practicing, and it really changed those fish. And you would pull up on those fish with live scope, and honest to goodness, if they were within 100 feet of the boat on the screen, like when they came in, if you didn't just land on them the right way, they would spook. It was crazy. And Cody made the top 10. They'd call his number, and he would literally go out in the middle of the lake, not far from takeoff, and drop his trolling motor and fish for 8 hours like that.
Just staring.
And he was getting like 5 bites a day, man. And it was really impressive though to watch him like just commit to that using a little Rapala ice jig. And it was 80 degrees every day during that tournament. It's miserable hot. There were a lot of different patterns at play, but man, he just cracked that code. And it was I talked to him after day 2. I'd seen him out there just roaming aimlessly. Because Smith's, it's
What do you got?
like
You got boat problems? What are you doing?
yeah, because Smith's like on average 150 feet deep out in the channels, and he's just out there roaming around catching fish 20 feet deep over and just chasing isolated fish. It was very to come out of practice and go, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And of course, that's the year where he makes the elites. And he called him at all 3 of the opens in that Central Division.
Fish your strengths. I mean, that's
right.
It's
crazy.
It feels
to see
like home, so he's going for
right.
it. You know?
Yeah, I get it. It's interesting, but I know he does a lot of damage around here on that thing.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be. Yeah, he's a lot of fun to talk to. I always enjoy him coming in the shop. So pick his brain.
Oh yeah, good dude.
Very good guy.
And actually, right now, as we sit here, he and I were supposed to be turkey hunting this morning. But this weather got crazy, and I didn't end up buying a tag. We were supposed to go the last 2 mornings. I visited with you guys the last 2 mornings. I was supposed to be shooting a turkey with Cody Huff.
Talk about this podcast because, I'd rather be turkey hunting as well, or table rock. But I don't know that you could get anywhere towards wherever Cody wants you to go right now because we had so much rain last night. There's back roads and everything else are
he tagged out last week, so I was giving him crap. I texted him. I was like, hey, I may or may not be coming up your way if you would like to be a guide. And he bit on it. I couldn't believe it. He's like, well, dude, I got a bunch of birds. We can go. You buy you a tag, we'll go. And when I saw the forecast, I said, look, I'm not spending $250.
No.
Because I only had a couple hours each morning before I had to, actually do some work in life.
Yeah.
But I'm a little disappointed that I'm not getting to check because Cody for the last few years followed him like his farms that he has access to or what. It's pretty impressive.
You're in the part of the state that has a lot of birds.
Yeah, it looks like
we've got a lot of good turkey population down here. How are we on time there, Jacob? We got. Well, I know you've got stuff. Little time crunch here. What's that? Okay, I got another segue. Your NPFL.
Yeah.
We did one a while back with Mr. Taylor Watkins after his super one-day shootout, which is a neat story to
listen, just crazy. One of the craziest weeks of my life.
Even the circumstances, it's like, man, just one day, got to go for it. And you just plain as day, go for it. But how's that? I feel like it's gaining popularity. We hear some more people talking about it. I know you've got your fingers in it a little bit, but
man.
But I feel like that's growing. Are you seeing it on that side of things?
Oh, for sure. I'm seeing it on just from an overall like this year. The amount of people that are talking, like at the Classic this year, right? I had so many more people than last year coming up. And, Classic was in June last year, and we were halfway through our season. And there were a few that came up last year talking about, man, NPFL Live. A lot of people want to talk about the podcast or whatever, but not as many mentioned NPFL. This year at the Classic, we were not far after that one-day shootout, and there were a lot of people and industry people in particular, that were like, man, I got to see your coverage for the first time. And they were telling me, hey, I watched it for the first time. So I think that this year in particular, we're not on top of any Elite Series. We're not on top of, I think, one pro circuit, but no BPT. Last year, I feel like we were on top of everything all the time. And so, and I understand where a fan would go, hey, I'm going to watch the Elites on Fork versus guys that I might not know as well.
Sure.
And so what I tell people all the time, though, is we've got some absolute stone cold hammers. I have the fortune of watching every camera we've got all day long, seeing what the guys go through, other than what's being put out over the stream, and it's impressive, man. And getting to learn some of the new guys, and then this year you throw in guys like Brad Knight and Patrick Walters, and we got Quentin Capo over there, Daryl Davis from FLW, and then you got Keith Carson, who was our star last year. Now he's fishing the pro circuit over with MLF. Yeah. He's mixing it up, doing both. John Sokob's leading the Opens Angler of the Year right now. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It's to be a part of it, and I've told this story on the podcast, but when I first saw the announcement of these guys, it was like 2019, and they're like, yeah, we got a pro fishing trail. They reached out to me about coming on the podcast, and me just being me, I'm like, yeah, well, good job. I've got a pro fishing trail too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I told them. I'm like, okay, you've got a press release, but do you have anything? And
what's your substance?
And there were a couple of the guys that I didn't know that were owners, and then late 2020, I guess, they reached out again. Hey, man, like, we got this deal coming. Can we come on the show? And I'm like, yeah, but I want to do a live show where people can ask questions, because I just want to see, like the temperature, like what people think. And we did a show, and it was great. And like, people were real interactive. I had Paul Benson on from the league, and people were real interactive and seemed to be genuinely curious about it. Well, 2 weeks after that, they just kind of blindside me with, hey, we got this live coverage. Would you like to be our host? And I really did. I had to think about it because obviously I got a lot going on all the time, and it was like 6 more weeks of
travel
work and travel, and man, it's been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in fishing, other than catching bass. Like I enjoy, I love the podcast. I love everything I get to do. I'm blessed to get to do, but it's the most fun that I've ever had. Like just being in the mix, it's cool. Getting to interview the guys, getting to feel that emotion, and because I'm a tournament junkie, whether I'm competing or just following along the sport. I've been a huge fan since I was 10 years old, so getting to be on that side of it and not have the stress of competing, but feel like you're in the competition. It's been really cool, man. And if there's anything I've ever been decent at, it's running my mouth about fishing. I'm better at that than I am actually catching them. So getting to do that for 7 hours a day and getting to do it with a guy like Fat Cat, who has become the last couple of years one of my best friends, and he and I work well together. We have a good time. We've got idiot James Watson out on the water this year for us covering it, and we have a really good time, man. And for the league, I'll speak to this. The investment they've made, it would surprise 90% of the people, especially from a production standpoint, like what we've actually got going on for a first-year, second-year organization like the studio. It's very impressive. The production team, they're not skimping on anything.
It the right
they're
way.
doing it. Because I've done live coverage for FLW. I've been a guest on Bassmaster Live a couple times, and it rivals it. It really does. What they've got going on is very cool. So I think as long as the biggest thing, those guys, they need some industry support, and they need some sponsor support, and I think they'll get it. I really do. Right now, where we're at, you guys see it every day. Boat builders can't build enough boats because they have so many orders. You guys can't keep tackle on the shelves. People building as many rods and reels as they ever have, they can't keep up. So right now, you don't really need to sponsor anything, Because you don't need any extra orders, basically. So
if you're giving anything away right now, you're losing, because it's
and we know it's a crowded market. You've got the OG Bassmaster, you got BPT and MLF doing their thing, and so to be there. But these guys, they don't want to be Bassmaster. They're not trying to tell anybody they're the next whatever. They don't want to be MLF. They just want there's a niche there. There's so many guys that want to bass fish. Every division of the Opens this year has 200 on the waiting list. We're seeing the Toyotas right now today. They're at Chickamauga fishing 300 and something. Again, for the third term, there are people that want to fish high stakes, high entry fee, big payout tournaments, and there's a place there.
There's a cut of the pie for sure.
For sure. And I think, last year they had some issues at the end of the year. We had to cancel our championship. And then we came back with a bigger field this year, with a stronger field overall talent-wise, I feel like. So I think next year there were some names that decided last minute not to fish that would blow a lot of people's minds, like some A-list guys, like a Patrick Walter. There were several more that just decided, hey, this is too much. And it'll be really interesting to see if they kick tires next year and come back around and they push it as a working man's trail.
Well, that's what I enjoyed when talking to Taylor, and it was like, well, what's next on your agenda? He's like, man, I gotta go home, go
back to work.
Yeah, he's like, go back to work.
Almost every winner we had last year, even Keith Carson, they get the trophy on Saturday and they drive home on Sunday, and they're back. They're back doing whatever it is that they do on Monday.
That's what he said. After I won $1,000, went back to work.
Yeah, he drove home.
After I won Cumberland, I went back to work.
Brandon Perkins wins at Pickwick, his home lake, and Brandon's had a lot of success. He's made the Forest Wood Cup, a lot of things, but he's back at his desk on Monday.
Yeah.
I interviewed him while he was sitting at his desk for the podcast, and I think there's a beauty in that. Because
I agree.
We were talking about high school fishing a little earlier, Drew and I were, and I think we do a bad job at times in pro fishing. Kids see the cardboard checks, they see the truck and boat wraps, and they see the jerseys, and they think everybody just fishes every day, and they think that there's just tons of money out there. And you've probably got about 20 or 25 guys that actually make a living off of sponsors and or tournament winnings, and the rest of them all have other things going on for the most part. And so the NPFL is nothing new. They're probably more than half the Elite Series. They're not fishing every day. They leave and go back to work too. But the way our schedule is spaced out, 4 to 6 weeks between each event. It's really cool for guys to be able to do that.
Kind of late if we're talking to the NPFL.
Yeah.
And I know we're getting a little pressed for time. Jacob brings up a good little segue, good question. So next up's Watts Bar.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? What do you think is going to win?
I'm really proud that we're
Who's
going
your
to
favorites?
showcase another Tennessee River Lake. First of all, I think it's cool with a big tournament trail. I think
Right.
VPT's going there too in June. Well, we've got Taylor Watkins, of course. Taylor.
He was
knows how to
excited. He was
win
pumped.
now.
He was pumped for it. He's looking forward to it.
He spends a lot of time up there. He lives right there close, even though he's a Bama boy. He's a transplant. But I'm going to throw Derek Blake's name out there. Derek's a guy that he's super consistent for us. He's fished FLW. He's been around forever. He's fished a lot of Toyotas and things, but he's from right there. Lives on the literally his backyard is the lake.
Right.
Lives on the water. He's really good there. There's a guy named Brian Hatfield that lives down the road. Big Daddy's Baits. If you've ever seen Big Daddy's Baits, Hair Jigs, ask Brian's bait company. Brian's a guy that he fishes Watts a lot. But I got to throw my buddy BK in there, Brad Knight. Brad's now, Brad told me last week, he goes, man, I'm not a favorite. I'm not a favorite at all. He said, he travels fishing the tour, and he said, I don't fish Watts Bar as much as I did when I was a kid. And now the lake has changed a lot. There's a lot of grass in it now. It fishes different than it used to. But I think BK will still have something to say by the end of the week. For sure.
What do you think? What do you think he's going to take to win?
I'd say you're going to be like 18 a day. I hope that's the case. It's been such a screwy spring. I mean, we saw that with like the pro circuit at Pickwick. It did not take the weight that I thought it would. Still good weights, but I didn't think you didn't see a 24, 25 pound bag any that week. Kind of a surprise to me. Just with the crazy weather. What's going to be interesting about Watts, and we're 2 weeks out, I guess, is you're going to have some fish getting out, of course, but I really do think you still have a lot of fry garters and, pop-ar fish, maybe buzzbait fish, that type of stuff. Everyone, there could still be a pretty strong shad spawn over there in places too. So that one's going to be, and when you get that though, unfortunately, it hurts the weights. I feel like when they're scattered. Like if you get some guys that find some schools of good, consistent size fish, you can run the scoreboard up a little bit weight wise. But I think there's going to be a lot of things going on. But I would still say 18 a day, 17, 18 a day in that range. It's not Chickamauga in that 20 to 20. You don't see a lot of like 25 pound bags there. But yeah, I think you'll see that.
It's the time of year. Catching is probably not going to be the issue.
No, I think they're going to get a lot of bites. Yeah, going to get a lot of bites. It should be. The crazy thing is, NPFL, I like their flexibility on stuff, but the way we had to schedule this, it's right before Memorial Day, and this event, we're actually fishing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, instead of Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So will there be some Memorial Day traffic on Friday starting to kick up?
I bet there might be.
There's going to be some factors at play.
Sure.
I've had a lot of the guys ask me, like, the Tennessee River, you think they're going to get wild on Friday? And I'm like, buddy, get ready. About 11 o'clock, it's going to be. Bradley Hallman's doing the on the water coverage, and he was asking me about it last week. He goes, you think Friday? I'm like, oh, you're going to need a back brace. Like, it's going to be Watts Bar. They like, all Tennessee River. It's like up here, man. People like to get out. And this spring has been so delayed. Everybody's been cooped up, man. We saw it at Hartwell in the final day.
It'd be like a mass just.
Hartwell coincided with our final day, the first 80-degree day they had all year, slick, calm, and sunny. And, buddy, it looked like
they're out
freaking
in force.
Bodapalooza in the background of every one of our guys are out there fishing that herring spawn, and it's just boats everywhere. It was bad. So will that play? But I think, though, being during the week, too, with the TVA tournament, they're going to be running more water on a Wednesday, Thursday than they do a Friday, Saturday a lot of times. So I think that will help the guys overall, the bite. So it's going to be it's one that I circled on the calendar this year. We did an interview at the first of the year about the schedule, and it's the one that one and Saginaw that are the two that I'm most intrigued by on the schedule this year.
Well, Luke,
thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to come out here. I know you got like work to do.
Unfortunately,
so we
got mortgages to pay and stuff like that. This stuff's all the what I want to do though.
Put that TH Marine hat back on. So
or take this off, go back bald.
Yeah.
Take the choker hat off.
Go to that other little business here down the road. So get that
John L.
I think he had a big concert last week or something. Johnny Stock.
Didn't invite me to play. I'm upset. Johnny Stock. He had some guy Hank Jr. or something. He didn't need me.
Yeah, Bo Cephas. But No, I appreciate you taking the time with us today, and
thank you guys for having me.
And as all the guys out there, ladies, anybody listening,
ladies
for the ladies.
There's like 6 women that keep up with fishing. By the way, just in case.
And the tens of followers that we have.
Tens of followers.
I'm sure we're reaching out to. But any questions, any comments, any baits you want to see in the store, anything, any podcast you want, any ideas you'd like to see us do, just reach out to us.
Hey, thank you guys for the job you do. I'll say that. BaitWrX partnered with you guys this year. I get more positive feedback about people getting their orders on time, the selection you guys have, the price. So it's awesome.
Well, thank you. We've got a pretty badass team.
Without a doubt.
That take a lot of pride in what they do and work their tails off.
My pitch is always, if they don't got it, they got it coming. And I believe that. I've seen it with Drew. He's like, get them in here. Get them in here. Listen, you want it, they're going to get it.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys, and we'll see you on the water somewhere.